I've got a few new projects coming up, it's time to go fabric shopping. We're going to look for fabric for the regency dress and I'm going to make a waistcoat, so we will be looking for fabric for those. Today I'm going to visit 3 different shops and they're all in the inner city of Amersfoort, which is rather beautiful. So let me also just take you on a small tour of the city. And like the proper Dutch person I am, we're going to do that by bike. I already made a list of materials I need. I'm going to try and not splurge on too much other fabrics, which we'll see how that pans out. This is also going to be the first time I'm going to vlog in public, so let's see how that turns out. But without further ado, let's go shopping. Hey guys, welcome to the city of Amersfoort. Unfortunately, I did forget my phone, so I can't fix my phone to my bike, so I'll give you that another time. But this is actually the entrance to the city. Now, let's get to those fabric shops. Around the city where the old walls used to be is now a park with a combined bike and footpath, which is where we are biking now. Biking over cobblestones with a relatively heavy camera in one hand did make the footage rather shaky. So excuse me for the footage looking a bit weird, I tried to stabilize it as much as possible. So the store that I first wanted to go to said that they opened at 12, but they were still closed, so I'm waiting here for the second store. That's going to open in 5 minutes and there are actually more people waiting outside. So let's see. So what I first wanted to do is I have a thing that I can fix to my bike in which my mobile fits. That way I could easily show you the city by bike, but I figured that holding the camera in one hand sort of and then occasionally dropping it when I need both hands also works. So hopefully you're enjoying the city. Yeah, let's see if I can show you some more once we finish at this fabric store. Hopefully the second one will open as well, because that's a new one and I've never been there before. So the first store we're going to is called Sikkes. It's a store I've been to more often. I've asked they let me film inside, so yeah, let's go fabric shopping. The staff at SikkeNs did ask me if I could not film the people inside, which is why we are mostly looking downwards. I did forget to mention, we are not only looking at fabric for a waistcoat and a dress, I also want to make my own sportswear, so I'm looking for a piece of spandex for a mock-up. Sikkes is a pretty good all-round store. One half of the store is clothing fabric and other half of the store is curtains, which arguably is also suited for costumes. In between the clothing remnants, I found this bright red piece of lycra, but the piece was a bit big for what I needed. However, in between the actual lycras I found this roll, which wasn't even too expensive and the pattern is horribly awesome. Perfect! Then onto looking for a waistcoat fabric. And I quite like how this one matches with the lining I already have. It's a nice wool poly blend, which is a bit more on the green side than my camera wants to show. And for the flat lining, this one matches up quite nicely. I have no idea whether it's actually going to be visible or not, but let me just color match just in case. I am not allowing myself to buy any printed fabric, but just look at these. That was it for the first fabric store. I found fabric for the waistcoat that I want to make, and I found fabric for the sports clothing that I want to make. I did not find any fabric for the regency dress that I'm planning on making, but there's another store here that I have never been to before. It's quite new, but it wasn't opened when I biked past it earlier today. So let's go back there and see if they're open now. See if they have any fabric that I can use for my regency dress. So the second store that I'll be visiting today is Belhadi modestoffen. I have never been here before, so I'm curious what they've got. I could go for a plain linen for this dress, but then, what color? I like these checkered fabrics, but they are all stretch, which is not what I need. Then I realized some of the examples in the pattern were shiny, and silk was listed as an option. Isn't this the most beautiful color? Let's go with this, with the grey as the lining. The gate ahead is one of the very few remaining pieces of the first inner city wall. It's called the Kamper Binnenpoort and was built in the second half of the 13th century. The rest of the wall was broken down, but fortunately they kept this piece. Through the gate is a pedestrian zone. Biking is only allowed when the shops are closed, so we will continue on foot. The third store we'll be going to is called Schwitzner's, which is slightly different. It's more trims and buttons and all that sort of stuff, but it's old. I always call this the Alice in Wonderland button store, and this is why. I'm looking for 10 buttons for the waistcoat. The pattern suggests using buttons of 1 to 1.5 centimeters, but yeah, just try to find the right one with this much choice. I quite like these, and they fit the fabrics rather well. Well, we've got everything we need. Let's show you a bit more of the city on the way out. Amersfoort is quite an old city. It was granted city rights in 1259, but people have been living here well before then, which is quite visible in these streets in the inner city. That was the fabric shopping adventure in the city of Amersfoort. This is the whole. Pretty much one of these fabrics is not like the other. But all in all, this is what we got. I hope that the colors now are slightly better than they were in the store. We've got this greyish green, which is 45% wool, 55% polyester for the outside of the waistcoat. And this will be for the interlining, I guess. I'm not sure if this part will be visible, but I just made sure that it matched. And that in combination with the lining that I already had here at home, I think this will make quite a nice combination. And for this I also got the buttons at Schwitzner's. Which are these buttons. And I think that will make a pretty fancy waistcoat. So, I am also planning to make my own sportswear, and just to try out the pattern, I bought a meter of lycra. Eventually I want one with galaxy fabric, and I guess this is somewhat galaxy kind of like, so that's why I got this one. And then for the regency dress, I had the most difficult time deciding which fabric I actually wanted. Eventually I ended up with these. The salesman told me that this was actual bridal silk. So, because I was first looking at plain linens, but then I thought that's very plain for a kind of fancy dress party, I guess. I tried looking at the plats they had, at Belhadi's at least, but those were all stretch, so that's not what I wanted. But then I realized that in the pattern, they also have a few dresses which are really shiny. I don't know what's up with those regency dresses, but they are very shiny. So that's why I eventually ended up with this silk, and for the lining of the dress it said to have a midweight cotton, but I ended up with a midweight linen instead. I guess that's also okay. I mean, there will be 2 more layers of fabric between the dress and me, so if it's kind of coarse, I guess it doesn't really matter. But I just love this color combo. I'm really curious if this is going to work out. I'm probably going to hate myself for choosing silks, but we'll see that in the moment that we're actually going to sew with it. Yeah, that was it for the fabric haul in Amersfoort. I hope you also enjoyed the biking parts. yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more content like this, please let me know in the comments. I really enjoyed making this. Vlogging in public is still a bit awkward, but I guess I'll get used to it eventually. Or something like that. So for now, see you guys next time.